Alrighty lads, you're with Budgetmonk and welcome to the second part of our series here, 12,000 Hour Andy's Guide to the Holy Roman Empire. This part is going to be all about all things Bohemia, guys, and the historical city centre of Prague, which is the monument located within Prague. So we're going to be talking about estates initially, as well as peace deals, what you ought to be doing in regards to the Bohemian peace, and then finally converting the monument, as that's crucial. It needs to be Catholic in order for you to reap the rewards. So with that being said, let's jump straight into things. Just like last time, we're going to be starting off with estates. You should at this point be able to seize land for the first time since 1444, as in my case it's the year 52, and it takes 5 years, which means you could have done it technically at around 49. So I recommend when you seize land for the second time, that should put you up to about 20 crown land. We want to stay above 15 if possible, but this, rather than putting it to a monarch point or something like that, this 5 additional crown land that we're obtaining, we're going to put towards missionary strength, because one of the last things we're going to need to do here in this session is build missionary strength as much as possible. So it is religious culture, which gives you +1 missionary strength from the clergy estate at the cost of 5 crown land. We're going to be taking that, as well as the other +1 missionary strength modifier from the estates. Next up, let's talk about the war itself. I'm not going to be addressing the war itself in terms of strategy, how to beat Bohemia or anything like that very much this session, as it's pretty much taken for granted that you should be able to defeat them as the emperor, guys. The reality is you begin with the morale tradition and you are the emperor, so you should be able to defeat him in the war, and we're not going to address that much. What I will warn you of, however, is that we are just using a regular claim that we made last session against Bohemia, and you're going to want to make sure to vital interest the province of Prague, as it's not the war goal. If you're calling in anybody who is strategically or vitally interesting in the province of Prague, then they're not going to hand the occupation over to you, which is very important, because regardless of LCB, the most important thing is that we take the city in this peace deal. Before declaring the war, you're going to want to also make sure that the province of Brno, which Bohemia typically converts first from Hussite to Catholic, is in fact converted to Catholic. Now this is assuming that Bohemia is a Catholic nation as opposed to a Hussite. I have a recommendation on what approach you should take in terms of peace deals, whether they are in fact a Hussite nation or a Catholic nation. And if they are a Catholic nation, you want that province to be converted so that when you release Moravia in our peace deal, they will not be released as a heretic within inside of the HRE. Alrighty lads, let's jump to the peace deal. So under the assumption that every releasable nation and so on within inside of Bohemia is actually Catholic, I recommend this peace deal precisely. We're going to be taking Prague. Remember, this is with a regular conquest casus belli, not the personal union casus belli from your missions. We're going to be releasing 2 tags, as well as cancelling the subject of our little northern Silesian friend here. So let's talk about why exactly I recommend doing this. There's a few reasons. Number 1 is more princes within inside of the Holy Roman Empire. Do not be short-minded, guys. People are going to be scratching their head, why don't you take the personal union? It's simply because we're aiming to revoke privilege within 50 years or so of the beginning of the game. So in just a few decades, it's not going to make any difference, the sense that we don't PU the land. The difference is that having more princes inside of the empire is going to make that ultimate revolt come along sooner, and then it's all water under the bridge, except this time we're in a more powerful position sooner. So alternatively, obviously, it's all about Prague. We want the center. Some people PU Bohemia and take Prague at the same time in the same war. That gives you a whopping 71 or more aggressive expansion. Whereas here we're dealing with 28.5, and that is one of the major reasons I take this approach, giving us the ability to move on and PU Hungary, for example, or go to other wars with Venice nice and easily, not worrying about aggressive expansion, coalitions, or hindering our votes to be elected. A concern that people might have in regards to missions is your mission down here. If we've got secure electors for the PU, we've got this mission, which is very important to pass later on, as it gives us imperial authority increased by 10% for 15 years. You will notice that this requires you to have 8 provinces, not in Silesia or the releasable nation up here, but within the 3 Bohemian states. So if we take Prague and we own that, that counts as 1. Well, how many provinces remain? You'll notice this state it consists of 3, and this is 4 remaining, giving you, if you can envision later on, we PU Bohemia composed of this. We have the exact 8 provinces required. So from my testing, this works every time. It works smoothly, and this is exactly what I recommend doing. And simply PUing Bohemia as soon as your truce comes up in about 14 years. Let's talk Hussite peace deal. You're going to want to respond and be reactionary based on what is actually going on. In my case, this nation here, this tag, I released them due to the fact that they could be released as a Catholic nation despite their overlord being Hussite. How do you know if they will be Catholic? It is based on the religion of his core provinces. Notice he has 3 provinces. That means that if 2 out of 3 are Catholic, he will be released as a Catholic. So we're going to want to do that. Same protocol with his current subjects. If they are in fact Hussite nations, then leave them under Bohemia's control because they are all heretics. I was dealing with 3 heretics within inside of the empire, and as soon as Bohemia annexes them through diplomacy, that is going to eliminate heresy. Now, if they happen to actually be Catholic and the overlord is Hussite, we're going to want to cancel them and make them independent. Otherwise, taking Prague as per normal, and of course the same goes for Moravia. Release him if he will be Catholic, but the likelihood of that is very low as 2 of their provinces begin Hussite. Now, with that being said, guys, I will say that the route of PUing Bohemia and taking Prague is going to have half of the aggressive expansion ramifications for your neighbors if they are Hussite. So I would basically give that approach my endorsement to actually use your mission to get the Casus Belli for restoration of the Union and PU them and take Prague in the same peace deal if you wish. However, I still recommend this approach as it just makes things go smoothly in terms of AE, and you can release independent tags within inside the Holy Roman Empire. And with the annexation of Prague, we're going to be looking at the last priority here at the end of this episode, which is to convert Prague to Catholic. As you can see, the monument does not take effect until the province is Catholic. Now, it is a religious center giving -5 missionary strength, and this is going to be our priority here to accumulate as much missionary strength as possible to overcome this modifier. Now, while Prague is coring, we're going to be attacking Venice, and the reason I'm attacking Venice now is simply because they are under attack indirectly in the defense of Albania. Venice is a problematic nation in the sense that they have good terrain, they're normally equal at best or ahead of you in military technology, and being an Italian, there is an Italian bias which is more likely to give them strong diplomacy. Yourself and your allies should be able to handle Venice, hopefully, if he's under attack indirectly by the Ottomans. Just focus on separate piecing his allies first, and what I do recommend doing is allying Milan, even going over your Diplo relations if it comes to that, simply to promise him land and call him to arms for some assistance, and then feel free to abandon Milan after the war. And of course, we are intending to get rid of unlawful territory, so we're perfectly happy to, in fact, grant Milan those provinces as it benefits us as the Emperor. While we fight the war against Venice, let's talk about missionary strength required to convert Prague and the center of Prague to Catholic. We already covered the 2 estate modifiers, giving you 2 missionary strengths. There is also the admin advisor theologian, which hopefully you have available. Otherwise, you're going to need to roll for a theologian because it gives you a decision giving you 0.5 missionary strength. And this is part of the reason that I have a massive amount of capital, and we also spend hundreds of ducats rolling for these advisors. Once you have passed that decision for 0.5, we need the missionary strength advisor inquisitor, giving you 2 missionary strength. Of course, once Prague is stated, we're going to apply the edict, giving you 1, and you're going to want at least 2 stability. So hopefully, if you're very lucky, you've already had a positive stability event by this time in the game. And what I recommend is when you get the positive event, actually stab up 1 time, which will put you to +2. Otherwise, don't worry if you don't get it, just brute force your way to +2. That's exactly what I had to do in my game, so you can do it too. Lastly, you're going to have to understand that there is -2 missionary strength to Prague, the province, due to it being an unaccepted culture. Luckily, the province of Prague is over 20 development, meaning as soon as we state the province, we can accept the culture group. Jumping ahead here to the finished core of Prague, what you're going to want to do, guys, is apply as much development cost reduction as you can inside of the Vienne province, including the edict. And once you've actually finished coring Prague, you want to follow a very particular order, guys. Make sure you don't mess this up. We're going to state up Prague and then promote the Czech culture to eliminate that penalty. At that stage, we're going to unstate Prague, so it's a territory, concentrate development into Vienne. Now, the reason we're doing this is because the development of the province overall contributes to the missionary strength required to convert the province, and it's going to be really close to the Y here. That's why I'm also going to exploit development, the tax development here, and then finally we can go ahead and full state and core Prague up. So remember, there's also a -2 for it being a territory and not a full core. We're going to full core it, apply the edict, and it goes without saying, guys, that you should accept any event that gives you increased missionary strength, including the event that reduces your stability and gives you +1 missionary strength. As a stab gives you increased missionary strength to 0.5, but it will give you +1, and of course you have the option to stab up again further and convert it even faster. And that's what's very important, is we're trying to convert Prague as quickly as possible, so that, you know, if it says 33 months or so, that's about 3 years, guys, and we want it to be as quick as possible, so we're obtaining that imperial authority. Alrighty lads, that's it for this session. I'm going to showcase my preferred Venetian peace deal next episode, in the 3rd episode, which is going to be all about Hungary, the Hungarian focus. So this is what the empire looks like finishing up at the date of 1456. 0 reforms past 12 years into the game. Does not seem that impressive, but trust me, we're going to build up some real momentum. I'm feeling really confident, having a good game, and you can too. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something. I appreciate you. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you live, or I'll see you in another video.